So, this is the first video I ever filmed where I actually show my face. So that's kind of cool. Anyway, I've been struggling with ADHD my entire life. I've been through counseling. I've been through a lot, and I'm yet to find, the proper solution. But along my way, I did learn a lot of stuff about ADHD that they don't really tell you. So I decided to make this video so I could tell you the things that they don't tell you about ADHD. The first one, people with ADHD are more likely to abuse alcohol and drugs because ADHD is a dopamine disorder. They have less dopamine in their brain than neurotypical people. If you have ADHD, you might, find yourself abusing drugs and alcohol as a dopamine supplement, which is also challenging because they treat ADHD with a lot of stimulants and medications, they could become habit forming, which is just not a good combination when you're treating ADHD, which means you're susceptible to addiction with potentially an addictive drug. So that's one thing that they don't really tell you. The second thing that they did not tell me about ADHD is that 80% of people with ADHD also suffer from some other form of psychiatric condition. 47% of adults with ADHD have an anxiety disorder, and 30% of which is social anxiety. So if you suffer from ADHD, the chances are you also have some form of anxiety disorder or maybe just social anxiety. So they never told me that. Something that's kind of sad that they didn't tell me is that 32% of students with the disorder don't graduate high school compared to 14% of teens with no psychiatric condition. So that means if you have ADHD, you are 2 times more likely to drop out of school, which might just be because it gets too challenging, focusing, staying on task. A lot of times kids with ADHD just find themselves giving up, which is not what you want, but it's what happens. So it's sad. The fourth thing, it's not really a bad thing, but it's hyper-focusing. When you have ADHD, you have the ability to tone in and really hyper-focus on a certain task. It makes you so intensely focused on a task that you might not even notice the world around you. You could benefit from this, but a lot of the time you can't focus, or you can't choose what you want to hyper-focus on. So you end up hyper-focusing on the wrong things, not the things that are going to be productive or beneficial. So that could be seen as a positive or a negative. I guess it depends on which context you're looking at it from. And something that they really didn't tell me about ADHD, which I wish that they did because this is a really big one. People with ADHD have a hard time managing emotions, and I guess people with ADHD feel emotions more deeply, or they have more irrational reactions to things, like joy, anger, pain, confusion. People with ADHD, they're going to feel that like a lot more than a neurotypical person. And, a lot of times these irrational responses can cause people to, do impulsive things that they're going to regret later. So a lot of times people with ADHD can find themselves getting in trouble, fights, or just like lashing out in public, or getting overly upset over small things. So that's something that they don't tell you. And the last thing that they did not tell me about ADHD, which I feel like is one of the biggest ones, short-term memory loss. People with ADHD might be asked to perform a task, and then they'll forget being asked the task before they could even accomplish it. It's called the working memory. People with ADHD have normal long-term memory, but it's harder for them to store short-term memories. So they tend to just forget things, like little things that normal people would remember from a conversation that they'll forget. Someone will ask you something, you'll just forget to do it. And it sucks because a lot of these things and a lot of the symptoms of ADHD just make you come across as like a lazy asshole, which is not the case. These people are struggling, and society can't really see that. You might notice throughout the video I'm like, tapping on my table or like playing with my hair. Those are all minor symptoms of the ADHD. I'm unmedicated, really basically untreated completely. But yeah, so those are 5 things that they did not tell me about ADHD, which I wish they did. So hopefully this could help you better understand yourself, because it helped me understand myself better and feel like less of a degenerate. So anyway, thank you for watching. I appreciate it.